I came across this video by Early Exit. I've seen many other videos like it, and he makes a lot of great points. He's pretty well educated and has some great plans on how you can get ahead. I just wanted to kind of have a discussion about it. I remember, I'm 31 right now. I'm a millennial. I remember back in the year, maybe the year 2000. My brother, who was older than me, and all of his friends, they were playing StarCraft, and then StarCraft Brood War came out. And around 6 or 7 years old, I remember we didn't really have money to buy StarCraft, but we had a neighbor, and his dad was a sysadmin, and he would basically, we would go out and rent the games, or we would borrow the games from a friend, and then we would like CD rip it, and then we would just do LAN parties at the house, so everyone would bring their computers over, and we would just play StarCraft all in the basement. Anyways, so around 6 or 7, I was kind of reading on forums of like how to do port forwarding. That's kind of when like I started making my own custom maps and learning about like scripts and triggers of like how Zergling Blood was made, and how all these, all the fun ones like Helm's Deep and Zone Wars, if you guys remember those, brings me back. Anyways, back in 2000s, my friend's dad was a sysadmin. I didn't know what that was when I was 6 or 7, but I'm still friends with this guy. He bought a brand new house in Cambridge, Ontario. It was brand new, built in the late 90s. So this is not the exact house, but this is in the same neighborhood where they lived. And this is around the same, like this is just a few houses down from my friend's house, and all of the houses on the street look like these houses. So he bought one of these houses brand new with the basement. It's something about like 2,500 square feet, double garage, big front yard, big backyard. He bought it for $140,000 in about 1998. And he was making $70K a year as a sysadmin, working mostly remote in Cambridge, only having to go into Toronto like, I don't know, a few times a year to like just check some things out in the data center, or just to go in the office for corporate events, but mostly he was just in Cambridge. So let's look at that. I mean, back in 98 in Cambridge, Ontario, like an hour drive away from Toronto back then, without all the newer traffic and stuff, you could buy a house for $140,000 on a $70K a year salary, which was pretty average for sysadmin back then. Fast forward to when I became 21 to 22 and I started studying for IT. I started looking at houses just like these in Cambridge and Waterloo, Ontario. Back in like 10 years ago, I was looking, and they were costing around 400 grand to 550 grand. And that was way higher, but I was thinking like, even if I can attain a job that's like 90K or 100K, I'll be house poor, but it's still attainable. So for me, the motivation was still there to study. It was like, if I study really hard and do really good, and I get all my ducks in check, and I do everything right, and I get a job that around like 90 to 100K, I could probably still buy one of these really nice houses. So fast forward to today, if I want to buy that same type of house today, this house is built in 2001, so this is like in the same build time. Like this house would have only been maybe 160 to 170K at most during this time. Now they're going for $1 million, and this is an old one. So if we take a look at the brand new houses that are being built right now, like back then, as he was a sysadmin making 70K a year, he built a brand new house for 140K. Today, if you want to build a brand new house in that same area, you're looking at minimum $1 million, and sysadmins still pay about 70 to 90K. DevOps engineers or AI or data scientists, you can get up to a higher range. I mean, I've seen very few people get up to like 400K to 500K a year. Like very few people. Most even senior or higher end advanced engineers top out at maybe 220K, 200K, and even that is still a very small minority. Most of the tech workers are still working around like 50K to 120K. Like that's like the medium range. There's not a lot of people making more than that. So when I'm talking to Gen Z people, let's say you make 300K a year, right? Let's just say you were the best of the best, and not only you were the best, but you also had the right family and connections to get you that role. Let's not forget, most people in the higher level positions have to be both smart and well connected and in the right family circles. So there are a few exceptions, but it's a slim of the slim. So let's just say you make 300K a year. In Canada, you're getting taxed half of that. So in Ontario, you're getting taxed 120K. Your take home is 180K. So you're making $15,000 a month. So let's just say you get a really great mortgage rate of 4%. So your monthly payments are now going to be $6,000 a month for the next 25 years. This is the best case scenario that you're spending more than 30% rule for your house. So back in the day they said don't spend more than 30% of your income, right? So even with this, you're spending more than 30%, not quite half, and you get a lot of money left over. So this is a pretty good life, right? But the likelihood of you making 300 grand a year in Canada as a tech worker, especially in this economy, is so low. Okay, more than likely you're gonna be making, let's just say you're really smart and you got everything done and you got like 10 years of experience under your belt and you finally landed a job that pays you $180,000 a year. This is a realistic plan. This exists, and you can actually obtain this with hard work and the right portfolio, the right training and the right studying and the right experience. You can actually do this. So with this, you would have 10 grand monthly income after everything, and you can see this number becomes a lot more unrealistic. Of course, you can have a wife, send her to work, and she can split the bills with you. You can get a cheaper house. I know you can do X, Y, Z to budget, but comparing, let's pull up Buddy's house, right? For mortgage rate, the boomers always complain like, oh, well, my mortgage rate was fucking 30% back in my day. All right, let's put 30% in. And let's say your income is $70,000 a year. So take home, you're bringing in $4.5 grand a month. With 30%, that's fucking crazy on even 70K a year. I'm just going to check in this. So the mortgage rates in Canada were actually 12%. So it says the late 80s, mortgage rates were 18%. Then in the early 90s, they were 12%. The mid 1990s, the rate fell down to 4 or 8%. All right, so he was never paying 18. He was never paying 30 or 40%. Okay, that's bullshit. So they were more 4% by the end of the decade, around 8. Okay, let's be generous. Let's say he was paying 8% mortgage. All right, so he's taking in $4.5 grand a month, and he's paying $1,000 a month. That's about 23% of his income is going to the mortgage of a house that looks like this, that is now costing you $6,000 a month for the exact same house. So you can see the motivation is gone. The purpose is gone. Who wants to study for like 10 years? In the meantime, you're working and gaining experience for maybe 10 to 15 years, and maybe you thread the needle so perfectly fine that after like 10 or 15 years, you finally have a job that pays like 250 grand a year, and you're still half of your income is going to a mortgage on a house that's the best case scenario. So at that point, you have a pretty good life, but the chances of that happening is so slim. But it's not all doom and gloom, because you can still do that. You can still get to the level where you make 200 to 250K a year. You can get to that level. If you want to get to that level, You gotta be crazy. You gotta be crazy like me. Um, the way I made my success, I made a portfolio, right? I made a YouTube channel with hundreds of tutorial videos on IT. I made a Udemy course with an entire Linux course. It's like, I think it's 30 videos long, maybe 6 or 7 hours long. I can't remember. I've written a lot of articles. I've been a part of a lot of modding communities like World of Warcraft private server. I go to a lot of meetups in Calgary. I went to Seattle meetups, Toronto meetups. I go to a lot of conferences and seminars to kind of network with other people. And I do a lot of studying. I get a lot of certifications. I help other people in my community get certifications by I do labs with them. We study together. We keep each other motivated. I have a lot of testimonial videos where I've helped other people learn and prosper, and I help them for free. And it comes back on me with good karma or whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's my own experience. And overall, through all this, I learned that you can still make it work. You just have to be crazy. You got to stick out of the crowd. There's a lot of competition with, as the Gen Zers are seeing today, there's a lot of AI taking a lot of jobs, and there's also the huge offshoring boom and immigration coming in, taking a lot of jobs as well. Competition is really heavy. Everybody's trying to get into AI to start working in tech, making all that money. Everybody wants a remote job. And I'm here to tell you a few ways that you can maximize your potential. So the first way is you got to build up your portfolio. Like I said, you need a website, and you need that website to link to your YouTube, GitHub for your projects, showcase different apps, and be a part of some communities, and put out content and be part of the community. If you can't do all that, I hate to say it, but unless if you have connections, you're probably not going to make it. I'm sorry. That's not my opinion. I'm not trying to say like, listen, man, the current job market is hell. It's hell. Everybody's struggling. People are getting laid off. It sucks. And if you're not willing to put in all of that work, you might get a job. It's really small luck, but you're just not maxing the meta, man. If you're down to max the meta and just go for it and fucking do it, you gotta build your portfolio. Recycling centers. If you can't get a job in IT and you can't get any experience, before I got my job, you go to the Electronic Recycling Association or recycling center anywhere. Pretty much every city has one. Almost every city has one. Probably even in Africa they got them. You call them up or you email them and you say, hey, do you take volunteers? They will probably always say yes. You go in, you do some volunteering, you put on your resume that you're a computer technician volunteering for this company. There's your experience, there's your references. That's how I got my first job in desktop support. Nobody wanted to hire me because I had no experience. And then everyone's like, you need experience, but you can't get experience without getting hired. Wrong. Go volunteer. You can get experience that way. And a lot of recycling centers, like the one I volunteered for, they even let me build my own custom PC out of recycled parts. So you kind of get some sort of compensation out of it. Maybe not money, but you get compensated in some computer parts. And that could be pretty good. Here is a golden ticket. This doesn't work for everyone. This only works for a few people. If you're American, start looking in places that you wouldn't otherwise look in. Go apply to places in Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, Kansas City, Oklahoma. There's a lot of Americans who tend to forget how big their country is, and they only apply to a few cities, and they let politics. Listen, if you want to succeed, forget about politics, forget about what you want to do. Success, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. So as long as you have all this other shit in the way of your breathing, in the way of your success, you're not going to be successful. If you want to get that job, you want to get that experience, and you want to go for that $200K a year, you need to make sacrifices. If you're an American, start looking in places that are less desirable to live in. And if that still doesn't work, or if you're a Canadian, or if you're a European, or any other country where you're kind of struggling because there's not enough opportunities, if you have parents or grandparents who are citizens of other countries, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of times you can get dual citizenships to other countries pretty easily. I'll give you an example. My girlfriend's grandpa is a citizen of Uruguay. And my girlfriend, to get a Uruguay citizen, all she needs to do is go to the Uruguayan consulate with her birth certificate and her grandpa's birth certificate. And just like that, she got her Uruguayan citizenship, where now she can work, invest, and live anywhere that's in the Mercosur Alliance in South America, which is almost any South American country. That's huge. And she never knew she could do that until just recently just came up somehow. And in that case, if you don't want to move away, just move away temporarily to get your experience and then come back. It doesn't have to be long term. If you want to succeed, you're going to go through the sacrifices and make shit happen. Do what you need to do to get into the position where you outcompeted all of the competition and you got hired. So with that being said, one last part about how to get hired. When you do start getting callbacks from applying with resumes, with your LinkedIn, this and that, when you go into interviews, this is something a lot of people don't do. Go through the job descriptions of jobs you're applying to and build out home labs of environments that look like what the job description entails. Build those out so when they interview you, tell them, hey, I looked over the job description. I saw you're looking at Kubernetes, disaster recovery, and containerized applications. So, in my own time, I use Terraform, and here's my GitHub portfolio with the project. I deployed Quake 3 to an Amazon Kubernetes cluster with disaster recovery failover with geo-redundancy. This is how I built out the stack. Do you mind if I show you my screen to show you how I built it out, and we can go over it together? And then I get hired. It's just that easy. No one else does that. And I'm telling you guys a secret because I'm already employed. I'm not struggling anymore, so I'm not worried about other people getting the secrets. But even if it's your first job and it's to help desk, desktop support, go through the job descriptions, dump it into ChatGPT, and say, what kind of projects can I build out of this to showcase in an interview? And then build it out. And then when you get an interview, share your screen to the manager and show them what you've been working on. It's super impressive. And it's even more impressive when you back that up and say, I also have a YouTube channel with all these tutorials. I also have a GitHub with all these projects that I've been working on. I'm also part of this community. I built all these mods. I hate to say it, man, back in my dad's days, in the boomer days, the silent generation days, all these, it's like, you didn't even need to know how to fucking read. My dad, he didn't know how to read a book. He could barely even speak English. He came out here, he just started working like random cast jobs out on like construction sites. And then he bought a house in Toronto for like, I don't know, like 60 grand. And that's it. Nowadays, you have to do everything that we've listened to in this whole video. You have to be the absolute fucking best to even buy a house in today's time. And if you don't want to buy a house, you can get a remote job. But in order to get a remote job, you still need to go through all the shit I told you before. And if you get a remote job, instead of buying a house, you can invest that money into mutual funds, TFSAs and RRSP, 401k, whatever, and then just go work remotely in like Thailand or something. While your life won't be as good and easy as your parents were, if you really hustle and you really, really want it, you can still get to at least halfway. And that's pretty nihilistic to say, but that's what I've been doing, and a lot of other people are doing it. And if you want to do it better than other people, then take the advice from this video, move on with it. And if you need any help, join the Discord below. I'll help you for free. I'll help you review your resume for free. I'll help coach you. And I love helping people. I love giving back to the community. This is part of my resume, part of my portfolio, that I give these types of services for free. And that's just who I am. I love to help people. So that being said, thanks for watching.